It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Friday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. Little casually late, casual Friday. That's okay. It's fine. But we got a lot to talk about. Our featured story tonight. Oh my gosh. Trump always chickens out. It is a rule. And I told you it would happen. And I've said it before. Our featured story tonight, we're covering actually two taco stories. Two instances where Trump has totally chickened out. Very similar issues. First, we were going to cover this last night. Trump said this week he was considering invoking the Insurrection Act to crush the protests and rioters taking place in Minneapolis. Well, today he said that's not going to happen. He says it's no longer necessary. Really, dude? What is even that? How many times are you going to threaten to invoke the Insurrection Act and then not do it? Just don't even threaten it. Why bring it up? Why say that? And I'm not just saying that either. I think this is the third or fourth time that he has explicitly threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act and then not followed through. Just stop doing that. Don't do it anymore. Because each and every time you threaten to do it and then don't follow through, it gets less powerful every time. People don't take you seriously. Moreover, we want you to do it. Why would you not do it? Even if you only arrest a dozen people. Crush even a dozen people. Somebody needs to be crushed. Somebody needs to be arrested. We are closing in on exactly 1 year of the second term. We don't got anything. They didn't crush the protest in LA. They didn't crush the protest in Minneapolis. They haven't arrested a single politician. No Obama, no Fauci, no Clinton, no nothing. So we'll talk about that. That'll be our big story. Threatens the Insurrection Act. Just a couple of days later, never mind. We don't need to. We're good. Why? Why bother? You look like a joke. That's one. Two, this is the second big chicken out. Oh, man. This is delicious vindication. Sweet, succulent. I told you this would happen. I told you exactly how it would happen, when it would happen, why it would happen. We're a couple weeks into the Big 2-6, and we have an exclusive report from Axios. It says that administration officials are thinking about walking back the mass deportations. This is how it starts. Okay, this is not a throwaway statement. This is not, it probably is a planted story, but this is how it starts. Okay, this isn't my first rodeo. I remember how it happened the first time. This is how it begins. Here we are, year of the midterms. We get this big exclusive report in Axios, and they're talking about how inside the administration, everyone's getting really apprehensive and nervous because they're looking at the poll numbers. And all of the opinion surveys and all of the polling says that this mass deportation policy isn't very popular. People are turning against it. They're turning against ICE. They're turning against the idea of massive deportations, and they're turning against Trump. And so now there are rumblings about how people in the admin are losing confidence and saying we need a different approach. We need a different approach to the mass deportations, you know, the ones that we aren't even getting at all. Last year, we don't even know how many people were deported because the government isn't releasing that number. They're suppressing it because it's low. But estimates range from 300,000 to 600,000. Nothing massive about that. 10 million came in 4 years. That's 2.5 million per year. You deported on the upside 600,000? Nothing massive about that at all. It hasn't even been going on for a year. This is supposed to be the year when all of that money from the big, beautiful bill hits the DHS department, hits Homeland Security. And now they're saying we need to rethink the whole strategy. And they're saying, well, rest assured, Trump still wants mass deportations. We just need to go about it in a different way. Okay, so how are we supposed to go about getting rid of 1 million people in a year? I mean, what do you think that's going to look like? You think you're going to remove 1 million people from the country that don't want to leave without beating the shit out of a couple of them, without shooting some idiot in the face? You're talking about 1 million people in 1 year. This is just math. You think you're not going to be chasing some Mexican through somebody's yard and kicking down a door and everybody screaming, getting hit with the shovel? It's going to happen. And so we'll read through the report. It's not good, folks. The numbers are bad. And these are the numbers before the bitch got shot. Okay, so the numbers were already really bad and going down before the pumpkin head got mag dumped in the face. So they're probably worse now. You got members of Congress calling the Trump administration, and they're telling him he needs a different approach. And you got Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience saying this is the Gestapo. It's like the Nazis. This is how it starts. And we'll talk about it tonight. We'll go into great detail. Anybody that has watched my show, longtime viewers of the show, know. If you've been watching me since 2024, if you watch me throughout 2025, you and me, I mean, we are on the same page. I told you this is exactly what would happen. I said it during the election. I said it last year. During the election, when everybody was hyped up about these promises, I said, they will not do deportations, and they won't do them because Wall Street doesn't want them, Silicon Valley doesn't want them, and this Trump government, it's not going to be serious. I said, you want to get 1 million people out? It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to require a whole of government approach. It is going to be unpopular, and they are not going to bring in people that are focused, competent, ideologically consistent, that are going to do it. I said, and mark my words, if you're lucky, you'll get some in the first year. We'll get to the midterms and they'll call it all off. I said, because that's exactly what happened in 2018. And here it is, just like magic. We entered the midterm election year and they're already getting second thoughts about the whole thing. Well, can't say I didn't tell you so. Can't say I cannot say, what is the expression? I told you so. I told you so. I told you it happened this way. And I will never get tired of saying it. And isn't it crazy? I'll just say this much before we really get into it. The year is 2026. Bombing Iran a second time. No mass deportations. What are we doing, guys? What is this? Anyway, somebody's calling me during my show. I love nothing more than when I'm in the middle of a live stream, somebody calls me and they know I'm doing a show. Anyway, before we get into the big news, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Remember to check out our merch store, Fuentes.store. We have all our new products, shirts, hats, made in America, good stuff. Some of it is made in America. The hats are made in America. Some of the other stuff isn't. But you know what? That's because it's too expensive otherwise. Check out our subscription website, americafirst.plus. Subscribe to get access to the entire archive, every show, podcast, interview, debate, speech, everything I've ever done. It's all on the archive website. And you get it in an MP3 format. So if you don't like the whole video thing, some people like a podcast, is lower data, whatever. People like the picture-in-picture type thing or have it in the background. That is on the site as well. $100 a month club, you get access to a group chat with me. I was going off inside the group chat. I gave kind of like my full take on Candace Owens, kind of like an esoteric take, because she said something really specific during her show yesterday that I didn't unpack on my show last night, but I did like a 30-minute voice message for the group chat, for the $100 a month club, breaking it all down. So you want that kind of exclusive content, it's on the website. So check that out, americafirst.plus. Before we get into some of this other stuff, I do just have to say for openers, because I brought it up in the intro there, this week it looked like we were going to war with Iran all over again. And I talked about this in great detail on Tuesday. And I brought everybody up to speed. You can begin the story around December 29th, I think it was, when Netanyahu came to Mar-a-Lago for his 5th visit with Trump in 2025, 5th and final visit for the year. And Netanyahu came to the United States again. Why? Because he wants us to bomb Iran again. He wants us to support them in bombing Hezbollah again. He wants the United States to give him the green light to go back to war in Gaza. He wants permission to escalate the war in the Middle East on every single front. And Trump didn't commit to a timeline or necessarily any of these particular options, but he did say if Iran rebuilds their nukes, if they rebuild their missiles, you can bomb them. Sure enough, a week later, we get these giant protests in Iran, armed by the CIA and Mossad, backed by the CIA and Mossad, embellished in the media, assisted by Elon Musk's Starlink. And it looks like the Iranian government might be on the ropes. That's not really true, but they created this perception. And so this week, it looks like we're staring down the barrel of another war with Iran. And Trump has now redirected one of our carrier strike groups to the Middle East, presumably to escalate against Iran. And it seemed just a couple of days ago that we were on the precipice of dropping bombs on them. There were reports that there was major Israeli Air Force activity over Syria, fighter jets over Iraq. U.S. bases were being evacuated. It seems that a second strike on Iran was called off at literally the last minute earlier this week. And a lot of people say, and I said this on Twitter tonight, a lot of people say, well, what a relief. We didn't bomb Iran again. Phew, that was close. We almost went to war with Iran, but Trump saved us because he's the president of peace, because he's the president of no new wars. People are saying, so this is a good thing. I guess we're not going back to war. But then you wake up today and you read in the press, this is in the Wall Street Journal, this is in the Times of Israel, this is everywhere. The reason that Trump did not follow through on the strike in Iran this week is because when the military told him about our options to strike in Iran, they could not guarantee that it would topple the Iranian government. So what does that imply? It implies that Trump fully intended earlier this week to pursue regime change in Iran. That's what that tells us. If he called off the strike at the last minute because the military told them, wait a second, this is not going to bring down the Iranian regime, and Trump said, oh, okay, never mind. What does that tell you? Their goal, which they are now admitting, is to topple the Iranian government with U.S. military force. So what happened last year to, well, this is only about the nuclear program, remember? Last June, they said, we don't want regime change. We don't want a war with Iran. We don't want offensive activity. We don't want to get involved. They said, we just want to disable their nuclear centrifuges. So we're going to drop some bombs, and then that's it, and then we're going to leave. Remember? And everybody said that was genius. Everybody celebrated. But of course, it's never that simple, ever. Not in Iraq, not in Syria, not here. Netanyahu comes back begging for a war. Trump apparently was moments away, and maybe this is obviously all planted by the administration. They are creating a perception, and we could talk about what the agenda is there. But I think it is fair to say their agenda here is to push over this government, to topple this government with potentially multiple waves of airstrikes against government facilities, against their internal security service, against their missile launch platforms. Who knows? Who knows how much and what are the targets? We know, however, that the end game is to push over the Iranian government. So what they said last year was a lie. It wasn't about the nukes. It wasn't limited. And now we are pursuing a top-down regime change with U.S. military force because Netanyahu wants it. Now, they called off the strike this week. What are they doing in the meantime? They're moving a carrier strike group into the region. You know what that is? That's an aircraft carrier with a mini air force and a small army backed up with a number of other naval vessels. And the reason they're bringing this force package to the Middle East, bring the aircraft, bring the personnel, bring the radar. What they are preparing for is the ability to launch multiple waves of strikes if necessary to anticipate, detect, and counter an Iranian counterattack. That is why they're deploying a carrier strike group. So they saw this week, hey, wait a second. The Iranian government crushed the protests. So I don't know how much military action is really going to help the protesters if that's over. So one, we missed the window. Two, all our ships are in the Caribbean right now, intervening in Venezuela, so we don't have enough manpower. We don't have enough force if it's necessary to control the escalation ladder in Iran. What's the solution? Bring more force. And presumably conduct more subterfuge and subversion inside Iran to lay the groundwork for another wave of protests. What did Trump do on Monday? 25% secondary sanctions, which he's calling a tariff, on any country that does business with Iran. So the protest started because the currency collapsed and one of their major state-sponsored banks collapsed. That's what precipitated it. Presumably then a bunch of armed breakaway groups, Kurds, Baloch types, liberals, other assorted groups took to the streets, organized on social media, beamed down from Starlink. So they're going to hurt the economy further, organize the resistance more, maybe push more weapons in, arm the Kurds from Iraq, send them over the border to effectively invade Iran while they wait for the carrier strike group to get in position. And what's amazing is that this is just now like a foregone conclusion that we're going to war in Iran. How insane is that? Trump gets elected, it's not even on anybody's radar. Nobody was thinking in 2024, we're going to war with Iran. If you're paying attention, you knew that's where it was headed. But that's not what he campaigned on. He was in Michigan pandering to the Muslim population there, saying, I'll end the war in the Middle East. In June of 2025, there was great trepidation about getting involved in Iran until it happened and it was quick and it was over. Now it's 2026, second year. Oh, this is just what we have now. This is just what it is. We're at war with Iran. We're actively pursuing regime change. We're going to intervene. And the U.S. media fully on board. Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Times. You read any of these papers any day over the past 2 weeks, and it is nonstop, wall-to-wall atrocity propaganda about the protests in Iran. Sob stories, and this one got murdered, and this one got crushed, and these are the bloodiest protests, and maybe 1 million people died. And you could see it is affecting public opinion. The public is saying, oh, well, if there is a democratic uprising in Iran, we should help them out. It's insane. And it's insane how much people are drinking the Kool-Aid. People that you never would have thought 2 years ago would be supporting U.S. intervention to bring about regime change in Iran are now saying, you know what? If the protesters are out there, let's give them a hand. Let's bring it in. Why do we want to take the side of the Ayatollah and the mullahs and these Islamists? Well, if we could have a Persian monarchy, maybe that's a good thing. It's like, do you hear yourself? What do you think we've been doing for the past 25 years? If only it were ever that simple. Yeah, let's topple Bashar al-Assad. All these towelheads have Facebook. Let's just topple Assad and Gaddafi and Mubarak and everybody while we're at it. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. How about 10 million Muslim rape refugees in Europe? How about a bunch of failed states cooking up terrorism? Where do you want to start? And people say, Persian monarchy sounds great. The people are already out there. Yeah, let's just drop some bombs. There could not possibly be any unintended consequences here. Golden age, King Darius II, save Israel, the king of Israel. It's getting freaky, man. I don't like it. So anyway, I just had to say a little something about that tonight. I know it's already in the rearview mirror. Like 3 days ago, everybody's ready to go to war with Iran. Trump says, never mind. I guess Iran shut it down. Everybody's on to the next thing. Totally insane. And mark my words, I said it on Tuesday, we are going back there this year. This is not over, okay? Trump did not pull us back from the brink. It's the opposite. He's deploying more soldiers to the brink so that we can go over the brink into a war. That much is clear. They are preparing the ground force that will do this. They're coordinating, I imagine, inside the country with who is going to take over. Those are some of the concerns. The people that called off the strike, this time it wasn't Tucker and the populists. You know who called off the strike? It was Turkey, the Saudis, Qatar, and Israel. It was these countries that lobbied Washington and said, you can't use our airspace. We don't think it's a good idea. There's not a lot of regional support because they'd said we're just not ready for it yet. But allow us to get ready. Allow us to prepare for Iran to potentially be targeting U.S. assets everywhere in the region. Prepare to intercept all these ballistic missiles. Have a force package to launch waves of airstrikes. Coordinate with these factions inside Iran that are going to be the ground force and probably arm them. Maybe escalate against Hezbollah first. Take them on in Lebanon with the major escalation. Disarm Hamas. And then you go into Iran, but that seems to be the plan. Anyway, but that's that. I do want to move on. I want to get into our other big story tonight. This is and this is why I tell you guys, we got to crank up the pressure. You got to keep the pressure up. This is why we do it. I hear from people all the time. They say, well, why are you so negative about Trump? There's a lot of good things. Whose side are you on? You only criticize the right wing. This is why we do it. You ready for this? So our big story for tonight comes from Axios. It talks about how Trump administration officials are starting to get a little bit nervous about how the mass deportations and ICE operations are being perceived by the general public. They're looking at the opinion polling and the opinion surveys that is being conducted about these policies, and the American public doesn't like it. And you can feel how you want about it. I have my feelings about it, which it's not popular. And we could go into why that is and what that means and everything, but the numbers are the numbers. The public is turning against the mass deportations. They're turning against that policy. And that was evident early on. It seems that after Trump secured the border, the appetite for massive deportations started to diminish. So this has been going on for a long time. But now that we've seen so many of the ICE raids and the hype edits and all this stuff on social media, well, now we're seeing that the public is also turning against ICE. Gen Z, Hispanic men, a lot of these people that came over for the Republicans in 24, they're turning against Trump because they don't like what they see in the videos. And people in the administration are taking note of that, and they're getting concerned about the midterms. They're saying if people don't like the deportations, if we're losing Gen Z, if we're losing Joe Rogan, if we're losing Hispanics, if we're losing women, well, we're already kind of in poor shape with a number of other demographic cohorts. What's it going to look like in the midterms? And so they're starting to talk about changing the strategy. I told you at the top of the show, this is how it starts. So this is a story. This is from Axios. I'll read through this. It says, quote, President Trump's team recently reviewed private GOP polling that showed support for his immigration policies falling. The results reflected in public surveys bolstered internal concern about the administration's confrontational enforcement tactics. Now, as the chaotic scenes from Minnesota play out around the clock on TV and social media, Axios has learned that some Trump advisors quietly are talking about recalibrating the White House's approach, although it's unclear what changes Trump might embrace, if any. Recalibrating, changing tactics. Because of the wall-to-wall coverage on social media. Sound familiar? It says, the worries in part of Trump's brain trust are the first signs of internal second-guessing of his controversial ICE enforcement tactics. Say it isn't so. They're second-guessing 2 weeks into the midterm election year. Who could have predicted it? I'm floored. I'm shocked. What a surprise. The private polling suggested a rupturing of the coalition of independent, moderate, and minority voters who were key parts of Trump's victory in 2024. Such voters will play a big role in determining whether Republicans keep their slim House majority in November's midterms. A top Trump advisor told Axios, I wouldn't say he's concerned about the policy. He wants deportations. He wants mass deportations. What he doesn't want is what people are seeing. He doesn't like the way it looks. It looks bad. So he's expressed some discomfort at that. Oh, man. It's deja vu all over again. Chelsea, I just had a vision. The year is 2018. It's going to happen all over again. He goes on, this advisor, there's the right way to do this, and this doesn't look like the right way to a lot of people. Several Republicans in Congress have expressed concern to the White House about how the raids are playing out, according to a person familiar with the discussions. Internal GOP polling that alarmed Trump insiders was completed at the end of December, days before an ICE agent fatally shot Renee Good in Minneapolis, otherwise known as George Floyd. 60% of independent voters, 58% of undecided voters said Trump was too focused on deportations. 33% said Trump was primarily deporting law-abiding people as opposed to criminals. ICE is taking a reputational hit. 2 public surveys released this week, one from CNN, another from YouGov, found that most Americans said the agency was making U.S. cities less safe. Another poll done for the Associated Press after Good's death found that just 38% of Americans now approve of Trump's immigration policies. ICE's tactics are drawing pushback from some prominent Trump supporters. Joe Rogan, who endorsed Trump on the eve of the 2024 election, complained on his show this week about militarized groups of people roaming the streets, showing up with masks on, snatching people up. He said, are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? Like clockwork. Like clockwork. They say a broken clock is right twice a day. Like clockwork, mechanistically, always right, on the dot, exactly when I predict. Here we are. And listen, the reason I say that is because I want to impress upon you people that in order to understand politics, you have to stop listening to what they are saying. Look at what they are doing. Look at the incentives. Look at the bigger picture. Politics is about telling you what you want to hear. That is their job. They want something from you. They want your vote. To get it from you, which is free, They tell you what you want to hear, and it is free to tell you what you want to hear. It costs you nothing to say things. Anyone can say things. Anyone can write things down and then say them. What you have to think about are the political constraints facing the politicians. You have to look at their record. You have to look at their actions. You have to think about the timeline. You have to think about all these other things which are real and tangible and which are not free and which are not flexible, like a speech, like rhetoric is. And so let me tell you what is happening here. This is very clear, okay? It reminds me of what happened in the first Trump administration. In the first Trump administration, Trump got in. He's inaugurated in 2017. And right away, you might remember this if you're an old head. If you've been around for a long time, you may remember this. When Trump won the election and when he was inaugurated, illegal border crossings plummeted. And they went very low after Trump won the election and was inaugurated. Why? Because these foreign nationals in Central and South America knew, or expected is the better word, that Trump would enforce the laws. So they wouldn't even leave their countries. They wouldn't even try it. Trump began to implement, with Tom Homan and Stephen Miller and the same cast of characters the first time, he implemented what is called the family separation policy. Because so many of the illegals that are coming over the border, they're coming with these unaccompanied minors. And the minors aren't accompanying, or they're not coming with their parents. They're not accompanied by their parents. They're accompanied by strangers and all kinds of other people. If you look at the details of the illegal immigration problem, the unaccompanied minors are a huge part of the issue because this is part of the legal loophole of how they are caught at the border and released inside the country. So Trump implemented the family separation policy. We have to separate out the minors from the adults and detain them so that we don't have to catch them and release them inside the interior. And in 2017, we began to build up some semblance of a logical border policy, looking at ending catch and release. And what happened towards the end of 2017, around September, October? They started talking about a DACA amnesty. January 2018 started talking about an amnesty deal. We're going to give you the DACA recipients. They'll be allowed to stay in the country legally. In exchange, we want $23 billion for a border wall, border security. Want to reduce chain and family-based migration by 50%, implement the RAISE Act. They were going for like this grand bargain. Then we hit the midterm election year. We're in 2018. And over the summer in 2018, you start getting this investigative reporting from all the mainstream media about what is happening at the border. And you might remember this phrase, it'll ring a bell. They started reporting on kids in cages. They started to say that the Trump administration is detaining kids in cages, like concentration camps, like the Holocaust, like the Nazis. Trump is putting little children in cages like dogs at the border, like Hitler did to the Jews. And they made it into a humanitarian crisis. And there was wall-to-wall coverage of this in the media every single day. Kids in cages, little kids in cages, separated from their parents. What kind of country are we? That's what they did. That was the playbook in 2018. And you know what Trump did? And I know this because I know people that were there when it happened in the first admin. That's part of, being around for 10 years. You know people, you were there when it happened, you remember it because you lived it. I know this firsthand. Trump picked up the phone and called Stephen Miller and said, Stephen, we got to stop this. Watching what's happening on TV, he said, Stephen, we got to stop this. And they reversed the policy. They reversed the family separation policy, which was a cornerstone in border enforcement because the unaccompanied minors were the problem. Huge part of the problem with these legal loopholes, how they get in the country. But the media turned it into a humanitarian crisis, and they knew that they were pressing on that because it's a midterm election year. So they're doing earned media for the Democrats. And the Trump administration buckled because Trump is allergic to bad press. He is allergic. He watches those poll numbers like a hawk. He is watching those closely. So he is allergic to seeing those numbers go down. He's allergic to seeing bad coverage on TV or in the New York Times. He hates to see it. And in the midterms, this is how it works. They crank up the atrocity propaganda. They run it on TV. It affects public opinion. Trump wimps out. He chickens out like always. He calls his people. They stand down. They back down because the people in the admin are weaker than him. Who was our DHS secretary in the first term? Kirstjen Nielsen, total idiot. Who's our DHS secretary in this one? Kristi Noem. Great idea. Yeah, she's a great person to run Homeland Security. When I think of mass deportations, I think of this idiot with the plastic surgery that shot her dog and her boyfriend, allegedly, Corey Lewandowski. That's who's going to run DHS effectively. That's who's going to run the most expansive deportation operation in U.S. history. They are weaker than he is, and he is weak. He is weak. And that's what we know about him. And you would only know that if you were there during the first term and have the experience. We played this game before where Trump runs a presidential campaign saying, we're going to build a wall, deport them all. We're going to do. And then he gets in, the poll numbers go down. He gets some bad media. I don't know who's weaker, him or his horrible people that he employs. They're the absolute worst, incompetent, disloyal. They don't even believe in the mission. And then he backs down before the midterms and they lose anyway. Now fast forward 8 years. Same story. You have ICE, and look, here's the story with ICE. The existing ICE personnel is not trained in these interior removal operations. We don't do large-scale interior removals. It just didn't happen under Biden. It's never really happened in modern history that we've got ICE going door to door. They're not law enforcement operatives like that. They don't have a lot of experience. So the personnel that ICE actually has, they do not have the experience to do this. They need some training, and you don't even have enough of them. Even if every ICE member had a lot of experience in these operations, you're still way short of the kind of force that you would need to get 1 million people per year out of the country. So now we got to bring in 12,000 people in a year and train them up and get them out there. So they're going out there and yeah, they're a little rowdy. They're a little undisciplined. I think that's obvious. And it's a difficult situation. Who can blame them? They're chasing down these people. Many of them are violent criminals. They flee on foot. You don't know who's legal, who's not legal. You're fighting with the local law enforcement that's not backing you up. The local mayors and the Democrat governors are out to get you. You got these activists chasing you around, death threats, shooting at you, throwing fireworks at you. It's a very difficult job. You get it. But you also understand that social media is merciless. The iPhone is merciless. So they're getting recorded. And while you're carrying out these operations, every mistake, every careless word, action is being recorded, uploaded on social media, and then it is being amplified and embellished by the media. And you had to know this was going to happen. You had to know that you can't deport 1 million people per year if you don't get a ton of ICE officers and you don't have a ton of these types of encounters. And statistically speaking, if you're getting 1 million people out of the country per year and there's 1 million arrests, these people are not going willingly, odds are some of them are going to get ugly. Yeah. Some people are going to get shot. Some people are going to get punched in the face or called a bitch or whatever. Some people are going to get improperly detained. Out of 1 million people, yeah, you're going to get a dozen of them, okay? Statistically speaking, it's about volume. And you had to expect that all of that is going to be aired out in the media. And now that we're in the midterm election year, that is exactly what is happening. All over social media, all over TV, all over the papers. Every person falsely accused, falsely imprisoned. Every mistake ICE makes, again, if they push somebody down, they shoot somebody with a rubber bullet and it blows up their fucking eye. That's all over the media. And every time it happens, this is attrition on the voter. This is attrition on normies. Normies who are not nativists, not white nationalists. They're not even restrictionists. Okay, your average normie is actually inclined towards immigration, probably. They don't want to deport every illegal immigrant, even those that have been here for 20 years, working hard, paying taxes. They don't want to shut down all immigration. And so it doesn't take much. If you're getting hit with this propaganda day in, day out, and it's crying people, sob stories, people getting their head blown off, they're going to start to crack. You're going to lose them. You have to expect this too. You have to anticipate that all of this will happen. It is obvious. If 1 million are going out, 1,000 are getting unjustly detained, shot, beaten up, whatever. If that many people are getting mistreated, the media is going to embellish it, and you're going to lose the normies. Your poll numbers are going to tank. They're going to tell you got to reverse it for the midterms. You must anticipate this. You must be prepared, and you need to have the right personnel that are going to push through regardless. You need to have the personnel in DHS and ICE and Customs and Border Patrol that are going to push through. And you need to have the expectation at the top that this is how it's going to play out. And you need to push through. You need the focus. You need the follow through. You need the determination and the will to push it through and make it a priority. None of this is a surprise. This should not come as a surprise to anybody that it is played out this way. But now this is how it starts. So they're looking at the collapsing polling numbers before Renee Good got shot, and they're looking at how this is affecting their prospects in 26. And if it keeps going this way, and it will, if they increase the deportations, you'll get more of it. Okay, they brought on 12,000 new ICE agents. They're getting up the detention capacity to 100,000. There's gonna, if we want to have mass deportations and follow through, we got to do at least twice as good as we did last year. So we're at this point, we got to double what we did every single day last year, every single day this year. We have to do twice as many. See the problem? If you want to follow through and do mass deportations, it's got to get more severe. It's got to get more intense. And by the way, the left is reacting. So they are going to escalate. Last year, you had the advantage of catching them by surprise. You were the first mover. If you hit the ground running in March, Antifa and the left don't have time to react. Okay, well now they've been watching this movie on TV for a year. And you bet there are groups out there making bombs and getting their plots ready. They're ready to attack ICE. And they're ready to escalate this and make it ugly and messy for everybody. They're ready to do these protests. They're ready to do the black bloc tactics. They're ready to do this and disturb everybody's daily lives. So you're gonna get more of it. The left is gonna escalate and make it a real headache. And the normies are gonna blame all of it on Trump because they're gonna say, look, before you took power and started this, everything was fine. Now our cities are up for grabs. Now you got people chasing ICE through the streets and blowing up fireworks. They're going to blame him for it. And again, it gets back to, is that political will there? And I told you before, they weren't even serious to begin with. In 24 and 25, they repeatedly said, we're not looking to deport everybody, just the worst offenders, just the most violent criminals. Then we'll worry about everybody else. And you knew they weren't going to deport everybody because Wall Street doesn't want that. Silicon Valley doesn't want that. Big agriculture doesn't want that. You know who has a great relationship with the president? Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture. You know where she comes from? America First Policy Institute. That is like the official think tank after Trump left office in 2021. And she's got a good relationship with the president, better than Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary. Brooke Rollins, as USDA secretary, she's looking out for big agriculture, and big agriculture runs on illegal migrant labor. So when Trump starts deporting some of the grape pickers and berry pickers, they call up Brookie. She calls up Trump and says, hey man, we got to do something about this. We need these people. And so what does Stephen Miller start to whip up? an H-1A visa program so that all these illegal Hispanics working in agriculture can stay. And that's where Trump starts to say, well, we're going to kick them out and let them back in on a new visa. That's what that is. And Wall Street doesn't want him to go. You start kicking illegals out of these major cities, or even if you make a gesture towards it, they stop showing up to work. What happens to the hotel industry, the restaurant industry, the construction industry? These businesses start to go down. What happens then to real estate? Now you got a big problem. Now you got sort of a cascading problem in the middle of a trade war and persistently high inflation. Low consumer spending, frozen job market. You think Jamie Dimon wants to see 30 million illegals deported from the country? You think Larry Fink wants 30 million people deported from the country? Absolutely not. And who do you think has more pull with the president? Captive Dreamer or Jamie Dimon? Jack Posobiec or Larry Fink? Genius. For all these people on Twitter that said, well, if Trump doesn't do the deportations, we'll just get on Twitter and we'll tell him we're not happy. Hey, fucking idiot. You can tweet all day long on Twitter, and they do. Hey, man, where's our deportations? What the heck is this? Should we chimp out? Dude, the head of JP Morgan that just built himself a new skyscraper in New York City, he has a personal audience with Trump. He outranks you, stupid. Larry Fink, who is now the head of the World Economic Forum and who runs the largest asset manager in the world, BlackRock, yeah, he has a personal audience with Trump too. He outranks you, dumbass. He outranks the frogs on Twitter. Sorry to break it to you. They weren't even serious about it in the first place. So here we are in 26, 2 weeks in, and everybody knows last year was a disappointment. We didn't get mass deportations last year. And we know we didn't because they're suppressing the data. They won't even tell us how many they deported because they know it's low. It might be 300,000. It might be 600,000. Either way, that's not enough. If you even want to reverse Biden, you're going to need 2.5 million per year. If you want to have a record-breaking mass deportation, you need 1 million a year. We're barely cracking half that, maybe. Okay, that's where we are from last year. So I told you it would be like this in 2024. I told you it would be like this in 2025. We are 2 weeks into 2026. We are supposed to actually ratchet it up, double those numbers. They told us last year all these excuses. Well, you see, the reason it's not high is because ICE doesn't have the resources. Well, the reason it's not high is because, waiting for the big, beautiful bill money. Well, the reason it's not high is because, do you remember this? This is the game. So it would have made a difference last year, but they ran out the clock. And you dummies let them because you made excuses about it. You let them make excuses about it. You made the excuses for the administration. You negotiated against yourself. Trump did not give you what he promised, and you negotiated with yourself and said, here's why this is okay that I'm drawing the short end of the stick. Right? 2 weeks into the midterm election year, not a good sign that Axios is out there saying the administration is having second thoughts. They literally use that word. They're having second thoughts. We need to recalibrate. We need to change our strategy. Yeah, you do. You know what strategy you need to change? You need to deport twice as many people. Recalibrate. Yeah, double it. I don't think that's what they're going for, though. How are you going to deport more people if you're being more discriminating? And by that, I mean right now, to Trump's credit, 2/3 of the people that have been arrested don't have a rap sheet. They're just here illegally, and that's it. So it seems that, they're going after criminals and they're rounding up a lot of people in the process. So you could say that they're not discriminating in who they target. They're really arresting anybody that doesn't have papers. God bless. Well, if the problem is the tactics are brutal and, this is causing chaos, how will you cause less chaos while deporting twice as many people? How are you going to deport twice as many people by being more discriminating and more targeted and surgical? It ain't going to happen. Not going to happen. We're already being too surgical. We're already being too precise. And, you know, the effect is hardly visible now. It's going to be visible if you double the number. And if it's doubly visible, the shithead activists are going to be doubly motivated. They're going to be out there. So, you know, there's one way to do this, which is 4 feet on the gas pedal. You need to tune out the haters, tune out Wall Street, tune out Silicon Valley, tune out the polls, the media. Get it done. It's going to be ugly. It's going to hurt. But let me tell you something about how politics works. You need to be in the business of scoring points that cannot be unscored. Okay, do you follow me here? When Democrats bring in immigrants, the reason this is so poisonous is because we all know they're never going back. They can call it temporary protected status, deferred action on childhood arrivals, implying that, like, well, someday they'll be deported. They're temporarily protected from deportation. It doesn't matter what the program is, refugee, asylum seeker, you're a seasonal worker. We all know, everyone knows, every non-white person that crosses this border is here forever. They are here forever. They're having kids. The kids are citizens, and anchors away. They're never going home. And the Democrats are counting on that. The non-whites are counting on that. The globalists are counting on that. That nobody is ever going to pick them up and toss them back. And we just have to deal with the new reality. People are here. They're never going back. Get used to it. This is a new America. What are we going to do? Deport this person that's been here for 1 year, 5 years, 20 years. Reagan gave amnesty to 3 million people, and they said it would be the end of it in 1986. Okay? That was 40 years ago. If Trump follows through on mass deportations, you throw these people back into some other country, they're not coming back. There is going to be no airlift. That would be impossible. Like, the Democrats can't put them all on a plane and reverse this. At least they can't do it easily. They could open the borders, you know, they could undo the executive orders. They could do things like that. But, like, they could not easily undo shipping out millions of people. You know, you send those people out, you prevent them from coming back. This is a more solid win. If you physically remove them, you use political power to physically send people, pick them up, put them on a plane, and ship them so far away, it's hard for them to come back. That is a political victory. That is worth it. If you're in office for 4 years and you only deport millions of illegals, good. Oh, we lost the House. Oh, well, people are unhappy. Who cares? Just be a deportation machine. What else matters? Cut the corporate tax rate some more? I mean, what else matters, really? At the end of the day, what's going to have a bigger fiscal, social, political impact on the country than removing over 10 million people that really don't belong here? Like, the Somalian enclave should be, like, eliminated. And by that, I don't mean killed. I mean, like, we should wake up in 4 years and it isn't there. Like, we should wake up in 4 years and it's like, oh, all those people were sent home. We should wake up in 4 years and all those Haitians in Springfield, Ohio aren't there anymore. These people that are eating cats and, like, menacing the local population and crashing trucks into stuff, they just shouldn't be here. And we should be liberated and say, thank God, Springfield, Ohio is liberated. Minneapolis is liberated. Like, and these are examples. And if you get those numbers up to 10 million, how many Haitians are in Minnesota? I think it's 200, 300,000, something like that. How many Haitians are in Springfield? How many Indians, how many Hispanics do you have in some of these enclaves in Texas and California? Just start doing it. But that's not what this administration was about. That's not who paid for it. That's not who paid for the campaign. That is not who is enjoying the spoils of the patronage system that has these cabinet posts and is benefiting from contracts and other things right now. The graft and stealing is like, you'll find out about it way later. You'll find out about it when the Democrats take the House. You'll find out about it in a few years. It's criminal. That's what this administration is about. It's about milking the government dry for more money for the billionaires, more money for these politically connected people. That's what this is about at this point. And I told you it'd be like this. I said, the reason we need to withhold our vote from Trump is so that he makes a commitment to do these deportations. He needs to hear it. You know, and even as far as like Brooke Rollins is concerned. So Brooke Rollins was with America First Policy Institute. You might remember this in 2024. Remember Project 2025? Remember that? So Project 2025 was a white paper and a staffing database by the Heritage Foundation, that think tank. And so Heritage Foundation, they came up with Project 2025. It's like a 93-page white paper. It said, this is what the second Trump admin is going to do in terms of policy. And they put together a database. These are all the loyalists. These are all the America First personnel. This is who we're going to hire in all these different positions. We're going to fire 50,000 people. We're going to hire 50,000 patriots. And you might remember, and this was like a good plan. I endorsed this. Trump totally cut them out back in June and July of 2024. He disavowed them. He said, I have nothing to do with 2025. I don't know any of them. I want nothing to do with them. They were pushed out in large part by Brooke Rollins because Trump was telling Heritage and Project 2025, they said, you got to get along with AFPI. They said, you think you're writing the white paper for my administration? You think you're going to staff the administration? He said, I already gave that job to Brooke Rollins and AFPI. You got to work with her. And so they were perceived by Trump to be in competition. Trump favored Brooke. They lost the battle in the court. They lost the battle in the court of Donald Trump, in the palace intrigue of Donald Trump. The signs were there. The signs were there. You can't say you didn't know. You can't say you weren't warned. I told you this was going to happen and why. It was very clear in 24 when Ken Griffin and the Wall Street guys, Bill Ackman, when Elon Musk and Tim Mellon, when Silicon Valley and the bankers got involved, that it was going to go down like this. And these guys like Joe Rogan, and I like Joe on some things, and I like Tim Dillon a lot. I think he's hilarious, and I like Theo Von. I think these are great guys. I like these guys a lot. I think they're really good. What I will say about them is that they are not far-right ideologues. I don't say that to insult them. I just don't think that's ideologically where they fall on the spectrum. They're anti-woke. They were against the Democrats because they were pushing like this dead guy and then Kamala. It got so ridiculous. But people maybe made the mistake of thinking we had this giant coalition for right-wing death squads. We didn't. Joe Rogan, I said this the other night, he's kind of like a left of center guy. And so you had to anticipate that all these people that kind of projected onto Trump what they wanted him to be, they weren't going to be there for like what we wanted Trump to be, which is a very right-wing, very strong executive. You got to know you're going to lose that support. You got to push through anyway. And so I don't know what's going to happen in 2026. I'll tell you this much. They have brought on 12,000 ICE agents, which is great. They targeted 10,000. They wanted 10,000 new guys. They got 12,000. They're increasing the detention capacity from, I think, 78,000 to 100,000. So if you could detain more people, you can get more people out. That's good. And that money from the big, beautiful bill is about $150 billion, I think. That is supposed to hit DHS, was supposed to hit a few months ago, but we're supposed to be seeing the fruits of that very soon. So the tools are there, okay? The money is there. The personnel is there. The infrastructure is being built. There are no excuses. Either we deport 1 million people this year, and we'll have a pretty good idea by November, or we know this whole thing was a scam. That's really what it's come to. There's no excuses. What excuse can you make? You appropriated $150 billion for this in June of last year. You hired 12,000 people. You built warehouses to put these people in beds. Okay, you have the money. There's no excuse now. You know what we want. You know it wasn't enough last year. So we need more deportations. I have a hunch that it's going to go down. I have a feeling that Trump is going to get the call because look, here's what we're talking about with the midterms. Republicans, at this point, I don't even know what their majority is. I think it's like 2 votes. One guy died. Marjorie Greene left. There's been some shakeups here. They only had a 4-vote majority when they got in. So these people are dropping like flies. You might not even have a majority by November. It is true in almost every election for 100 years that the incumbent party loses the House, or at the minimum, they lose seats in the House. So the ruling party almost never gains seats in the midterms. It almost never happens. And Trump has pretty low approval ratings, pretty low favorability. It's gone very far down. He's losing Gen Z, he's losing Hispanics, he's losing with women. He's hurt a lot. All things being equal, we're going to lose seats. If you lose like 3, there goes the House. You know what happens the next day? Everybody gets impeached. Okay, in the first week of January next year in 2027, when this House is sworn in, everybody's getting impeached. Okay, everyone is getting charged. Corey Lewandowski, Kristi Noem, Trump, Hegseth, all these guys are getting subpoenaed, and they're getting subpoenaed the shit out of them. And you might remember the Democrats shut down the government for 45 days, longest government shutdown in history. That's when they had a minority in the Senate. They're going to have that same minority in the Senate. They'll be able to prevent Republicans from beating a filibuster. Plus, they're going to have a majority in the House. They're going to shut everything down. Okay, so everything you thought we were going to do, everything you hoped Trump would accomplish later, they're going to shut it down until 2028. And then that's curtains. That's it. These are the stakes. So knowing that, Republicans, by hook or by crook, they want to keep the House. So you better believe Trump is going to get blasted with calls from Republicans in Congress from now until November. We got to do something about ICE. We're getting killed out here. You're going to lose your majority. We're all going down. They're going to make those calls. Silicon Valley, Wall Street are going to make those calls, and public pressure is going to mount from guys like Joe Rogan and the military guy who's calling him a pedo protector. The public pressure is going to mount, and it's going to come down to, does Trump have the balls and the fortitude to stick it out? I don't think he does. I hope I'm wrong, but like I told you, we've seen this movie before. This is exactly how it played out in the first term. Trump bent the knee, and you know what followed after that? So if we go back to the first term, Trump caved on family separation, talked about a DACA amnesty before the midterm elections. You know what happened in 2019, 6 months after the midterms? We had the highest number of border crossings in the month of May and June in 20 years. That's how it happened the first term, okay? So Trump gets into office, and nobody even attempts to cross the border illegally because they're so afraid of the enforcement. Midterms come around, wall-to-wall coverage of ICE atrocities, Border Patrol atrocities, calls up Stephen Miller. Stephen, we got to do something about this. They reverse the policy. The illegals know it's a free-for-all, it's open season, and within 6 months from the Northern Triangle, you get 150,000 illegal border crossings, apprehensions in the month of May. You get more in June. 20-year highs in the first term. And he didn't build the wall. He didn't build the wall, and that is what allowed Biden to open it right back up and let in 10 million people. You get Trump in, he doesn't deport those 10 million people. He still doesn't build the fucking wall. What happens in 2028? A Democrat comes in, they open up the floodgates, 10 million more illegals. Congratulations, you win the prize, 10 million more. So we will be in 2032, 16 years into the Trump movement, and we're 20 million more illegals in the hole. We started with 20 or 30 million. Now we're at I don't even know. There's more illegals than citizens at that point. This is why we say, that's why they call me an accelerationist, anti-Trumper, whatever. It's like, look, man, Don't get me wrong. When I hear these people and they say, oh, you know, Trump is like, he's like America's Hitler. No one is saying that like it's a good thing. That's fake. No one ever says that at all. But like when these people say Trump is like our Caesar, he's like the guy, he's our leader, trust the plan. He's like, I get it. I wish that was the case, but it's like, look, man, we have seen this for 10 years. We know what we're getting. This is the devil you know. Okay, we know at this point who Trump is and what he's about. We know his faults and his strengths. We know the people that he's involved with. Okay, we know his behavior. We know all these things about him. And like, I don't think we're going to get any surprises. The man's 80 years old. You know? The man's literally turning 80 years old. Do you think he's become a new man? You know? Punish Trump. I will be your vengeance. It didn't happen. And we got to come to terms with that. So that's why I'm telling people, it's like, look, the Democrats are going to activate. We got to activate and say, look, we're not turning out unless we get mass deportations. You want to have a shot at keeping the House in the midterms? You better deliver. That's why I tell people it can't only go in one direction, where moderates, independents, and liberals are saying, we're not going to vote if you keep doing it. We, as the far right, need to say, we won't vote if you don't do it. Because we need Republicans worried about that. We need Republicans worried about if we look too soft, we can forget about it because then our base won't show up. That's the psychology we need to create. But if you say, I will negotiate with myself, I will tolerate anything, I am a sucker, I am a mark, I will literally never stand up for myself, I'll vote Republican no matter what, well, then you're begging to be taken advantage of. It's what it is. So anyway, that's coming out of the administration. Not a good sign. Not a good sign. 2 weeks into 2026, and they're saying, you know, we're having some second thoughts. Everybody's saying, okay, you got your $150 billion from that big corporate tax giveaway. Are you going to deport 6 million people yet? And they say, yeah, you know, about that, I think we need to recalibrate our strategy. We're still in favor of mass deportations. It's just, you know, Mr. Trump doesn't like the way it looks. And you know what that tells us, by the way? If they're saying to Axios that Trump only said he doesn't like how it looks, you know what that means? It's coming from the top. It means that Trump is telling them, I don't like this. Okay, so he's having second. It's not, don't blame it on Corey Lewandowski. Don't blame it on Tom Homan. Trump is having second thoughts. Now we got a problem. So I hope they follow through here, because if they don't, tell me who is going to do it. If Trump, in his second term, after being overthrown and shot in the face and charged, and wins the popular vote because of this fluke, Biden's dying, Kamala comes in, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, Tim Mellon, they're airdropping helicopter money into his coffers. Everybody comes together to defeat woke. The Israel lobby's all in on it. It's Trump. If he can't deport millions of people, who is going to do it? And when? And under what circumstances? You think Vance is going to do it? What would make you think Vance could even try? We don't even know anything about him. You know, say what you want about Trump. He galvanized a coalition that won a presidential election legit from the outside. He changed everything single-handedly in 2016. He's capable of things. He's capable of these incredible things. He's been the president. And we saw him in exile, still 4 feet on the gas pedal. We don't even know who Vance is. He's never even had a real job. He wrote a book about his Meemaw, and you think he's going to be able to deliver what Trump could not? Why do you think that is? Because he gave a speech at Turning Point where he said, hell, I'll drink a Mountain Dew. They'll probably say that's racist. And you people say, I like the way Vance talks. I like him. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. It's a speech. He's famous for writing a book that's anti-Trump. That's all he's ever done. You think he'll be better? You think he'll go harder? Why? It's crazy. That's their plan. That's their ace in the hole. You fucking idiots. And here's the last thing I'll say, then we'll move on. You want to know the worst part? When it comes to all these other people, they are getting their palms greased. They are getting their end. Netanyahu is not unhappy, okay? Elon Musk is not unhappy. Andreessen Horowitz is not unhappy. None of these people are unhappy with what they are getting from the Trump administration. That should piss you off. Okay, Ken Griffin and Mark Andreessen and Elon Musk and Tim Mellon and Benjamin Netanyahu and Miriam Adelson and Mark Levin, they're all happy as a clam. They are ultra wealthy. They're on a beach somewhere. They're calling the president personally, telling him what to do, and they're loving it. They're loving every second of it. They're loving all the AI investment, the deregulation in the states. They're loving the glut of energy. They're loving the intervention in the Middle East. They're loving the corporate tax cuts. They're loving the rate reductions. They're loving all this stuff. And they're getting fabulously wealthy off of it. They're getting their back scratched. Dude, they're getting their ass eaten. Like, not to be gross, but like, they're getting the full service. And you, stupid, are at home on Twitter. You are not richer. You are not materially better off at all. Okay? The economy's not great. Job market's not great. Housing market's not great. And you are sitting there on Twitter telling yourself, well, it's okay that we don't have mass deportations. Trump doesn't have the money for it yet. Well, the American Community Survey said that 2 million self-deported. So that's good. I hope that's real. It's so sad. So sad. But these are the wages of demagoguery. These are the wages of populism. You were used. You were used to enthrone Trump. And now that Trump is in, everyone's getting rich on Poly Market. Everyone's getting rich on Trump coin. Everyone's getting rich on these big contracts. Everyone is getting rich. Everyone that's in the club. Everyone that paid $1 million to be at Mar-a-Lago and overheard, that we're going to get an interest rate reduction, and they made $1 trillion on Poly Market. They were the first one in on Trump coin. They have their connection here and there in the government, and they're going to get to skim off of a $100 million contract. Okay. That's the game. Now, that doesn't mean don't play, but it means take your own side. It means play to win. Don't get emotionally invested. That was the mistake. All these people in 2024 were saying, you're being disloyal to Trump. I know a guy. He was one of my best friends. He knows me in real life. He went to my birthday party. Close friend of mine. Like, you know me. You shook my hand. We know each other on a first name basis. I know where you live. You know where I live. And he was flipping out in 2024 because I was being disloyal to Trump. Hey, tard. Trump doesn't know who you are, little bro. And he doesn't care about you. You're not paying $1 million to be a Mar-a-Lago. You didn't get the tip-off about Trump coin. You didn't get the tip-off about the Poly Market. Other people did. Okay, you don't own a data center. You don't own Anduril. You don't own anything that is being enriched by this administration. So what do you mean loyal to Trump? What do you mean by that? People say, you're not a plan truster. We're out here trust the plan. Are you a idiot? How old are you? What are you, 4 years old? It's crazy. Grow up. Wake up. Grow up. Take your own side. It's not personal. It's politics. If we are the peasant class, the working class, middle class, native people of America, we need to start organizing and acting like it as a voice, as one group saying, listen up, pal. You want all of our votes. This is what we expect. You don't deliver, we're not voting. And they're going to tell you, oh, but then the other side's going to win. Oh, but then not our problem. This is what we're getting now, okay? If you ever want to win the game, you got to play to win. You can't play not to lose. Oh, we didn't lose this year. Oh, we didn't. Okay, so we're going to lose the next one. You know, it's like they distribute the losses and the ones where it's a draw. I don't want to draw. I don't want to lose. I want to win. I want to play to win. That means we win, someone else loses. You know who needs to start to lose? Silicon Valley, Wall Street, foreigners, Israel. These groups need to lose. And Americans need to start winning. And yes, it is a zero-sum game. For American wages to go up, for American soldiers not to die in wars that aren't our own, for the government to actually be able to focus on securing the border, building a wall, deporting illegals. Yes, we have to win and they have to lose. The asset managers, private equity, the Wall Street traders, the Israel lobby, the foreigners, the illegals that have been here for 20 years. Yeah, it's time for them to lose for once. It's time for them to draw the short end of the stick, not us. It's time for the Republicans that are the beneficiaries of the patronage system to lose. Do we really need to pay for another boob job? For another Kristi Noem? For another bimbo at Mar-a-Lago? Seriously. Because that's all we're doing right now. It's nuts. They're just going through the motions. Just make another True Social post. Just make another announcement that has no basis in reality. And you'll have Cat Turd and all these other dummies. Oh, we're winning today. No, we're not. It doesn't feel like we're winning. It doesn't feel like anything changed here. I'm out here in Chicago. Where's the National Guard? Still lawless. Where's the mass deportations? The city's still run by illegal immigrants. You know, like, what do you mean? So, that's that. I do want to move on, though. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this. I'm going to get set up here. We'll take a look. Let me see. Such a shame. I told you it'd be like this. And I don't know. I guess people weren't listening. They didn't believe me. They believed in the vibes. Totally insane. They think it's like a movie. People just, you know what it is? People just are so easy to manipulate. They just get whipped up by sentiment. Most people are complete idiots and they just kind of go with the flow, go with the program. So we got to create our own program. We have to cynically create our own program for people to go along with. That's the problem, is like we don't have enough people that are kind of aware of how that is required. People are like, no, we need people to start thinking for themselves. It's like, no. Like we need to get people thinking our way, which is sort of a different enterprise, you know? There is a small section of the population that will ever think for themselves. And then it's competition. How do we get people to think the way that we want them to think? All right, but let's take a look. Let's see what we got here.
Woosah. Woosah. We got to stop dick riding. I'm going to just say it. Apologies for the vulgarity, but we got to stop dick riding. We got to stop being fanboys. We got to start thinking on our own. And then we won't be misled by all these politicians, these celebrities, these political influencers across the board. Think for yourself. Stop allowing Trump to put in your mind how you should think about a particular situation. Stop allowing Nick. Don't allow me. Don't allow me. Y'all know I always encourage the pushback. I don't want anybody just agreeing with me. I want y'all to tell me your perspective, so therefore I can process everything, put it together from different vantage points, and then figure out the best approach or the best way to, I guess, process what's going on. And then I can figure out the best way to move forward. The reason why I'm saying to stop dick riding, just think about it from this standpoint, what Nick is complaining about when it comes to Donald Trump. And I agree with him. He said, Donald Trump chickens out. Donald Trump has done this for a very long time. And I've been calling Donald Trump out for, I mean, basically, like after like 2 months of him being in office, you could just tell that, damn, like he's just selling out to Israel. All these people that
once said that they were never Trumpers, couldn't stand Trump, from Ben Shapiro to all of these people. Got Rubio working for him. Go back and look at the things that Rubio said about Trump, that J.D. Vance said about Trump, that Ben Shapiro said about Trump, that all of these people, Stephen Miller, or was it Howard Lutnick? It was one of them. I think it might have been Lutnick, actually. One of them. Go back. I think they called him a moron, all this stuff. And you think about it, like, when does Trump allow people to call him these things and speak down on him, but then turn around and not only be cool with them, but actually put them in positions of influence? Y'all remember how he did Chris Christie, dirty. Chris Christie dropped out, then ended up supporting Trump. Trump turned his back on him so quick. Nah, bruh, stay over there. That was the energy. So let me re-emphasize. We got to start thinking of ourselves instead of just being fanboys or fangirls. Donald Trump, what did he do? He always comes out talking tough, right? Using performative rhetoric. Talking tough, using performative rhetoric. Oh, we're going to take this. We're going to take that. We're going to get him out of here, deport him. All this energy. And Nick says that he chickened out. And I think Nick's talking about on two fronts. He said with Minneapolis. He said he was going to invoke the Insurrection Act, then changed his mind. Then with the deportations, and Nick was telling the story. I don't know where Nick got that fact from, but we'll take Nick at his word. Where he's saying that when they were putting him in cages, we're putting people in cages. And I remember these stories where the Democrats and liberals, especially mainstream news outlets, they were trying to say, Donald Trump, he's separating mothers from kids. And I thought that was entirely disingenuous, because all of these Democratic liberal commentators, they would neglect to mention that the reason why these people are coming here illegally at record numbers is because the Democrats and liberals are incentivizing them to come. It's like you're dangling bait to get somebody to come to a party that you know they can't get into. And once they get here, you know it's going to be a problem when they get to the door. You over here inviting, people to the party, to a house party. You know damn well the person who owns the party, they can't, even if they wanted to let those people in, there's not enough space in here. So now when you got to turn these people away, what's going to happen? We've all been there. A lot of us have been there. Now it's a situation because somebody wanted to tell somebody to come to the party that didn't get an invite, that they knew that just like America doesn't have the infrastructure, that house, we can't handle all these people. And we don't even really rock with y'all like that. You know what I'm saying? That's the energy. So why do people fall for it? Why did Nick fall for it? Nick is the person that was calling this out well before the election. I didn't know who Nick was at this time. Y'all know I started following Nick maybe around, I don't know, what was it, like April, May or something like that last year? But I looked back at his videos and I found out like, oh, he didn't even vote for Trump because he knew that Trump was on a whole bunch of BS and wouldn't deliver on a lot of the things that he said he would deliver on. And he was taking all that money from these Zionists like Miriam Adelson and a bunch of others, to where you could tell he's going to have to pay that back one way or another when he gets in office. If he gets in office, he got in office. Surprise, surprise, what's going on? But see, look at it from this standpoint. And this is why I say we got to stop riding. Right? We got to stop deriding. This is why I'm saying it. Nick, who called it out, who knew Trump was on BS, this week, since he came back on his show, before maybe this show, when he's calling him out for chickening out, what was Nick celebrating? Yeah, he's going to take this. We're going to take that. He amped Nick up to where now Nick's coming out this week using all that performative rhetoric. Right? So look at what happens. You got Trump using the performative rhetoric that he's never going to deliver on. So it's either he doesn't believe in it in the first place, or he has no intention of delivering on it because he keeps doing the same thing. But what does he know? He knows that when he uses that performative rhetoric, it's going to get people like Nick Fuentes, who didn't even believe in him. So imagine the people that have never left him. Imagine the people that are still MAGA, the people that are still rocking with Trump, how they're going to be misled. Nick's been calling Trump out for a while and he still got misled. He still got caught up in it. And that's why he's so pissed off saying that Trump chickened out. But then it reminds me of something. Who else uses performative rhetoric to appeal to their base? Oh, y'all ain't gonna like that one, right? Y'all ain't gonna like me going there, right? You could feel, you just tensed up inside because you know that I'm about to talk about you, right? So let's get to it. Just like Donald Trump uses performative rhetoric, that he's not going to stand on, and he's just trying to appeal to his base. Y'all can say Nick was willing to stand on it, whatever. Nick's not in a position to actually do anything. So Nick's standing on, I guess he's not in a position to stand on it, but Nick uses that same performative rhetoric. Y'all have felt it. Y'all have seen it. Y'all may not call it out, but y'all know what happens. As soon as Nick starts leaning in a direction where he feels like his base is not going to be on board, and he starts getting called out for this and that and aligning with the wrong people, when he starts saying like, hey, anybody can be in this movement. Black people can be in this movement if they're willing to move the right way. What happens to a lot of his base? Whatever. They get frustrated. No, this is just for disaffected young white men. This is just for us, not for them. So then what does Nick do when he comes on the next show? When he feels like he has to make an appeal, he starts saying, well, nigger this and all types of stuff, right? He starts now feeding into that same rhetoric. He starts now calling Candace Owens this B. He starts going off on Renee Good, calling her a pumpkin head and the B word. It's like, damn, bro, like, is all of that really necessary? And Nick has admitted to using performative rhetoric. He's doing a show, he says. What he's actually saying is he's just trying to appeal to y'all, to appeal to his base. And it is a slight kind of insult of intelligence. Now, we can act like he's just being performative, but if you know, you know. You know he's just doing exactly what Donald Trump does to get Nick riled up. Nick Fuentes is doing the same thing to get a lot of y'all riled up. Now, Nick, I still rock with Nick. A lot of people, you may not think so. I mean, I respect a lot of what Nick has been willing to call out and stand on for a very long time. So I don't just let me not having the same opinion with Nick today, throw away whatever else, just look at, I just disagree. Don't rock with you. I'm gonna call it out for what it is. Just like I would expect y'all to do the same thing for me that y'all have no issue with. But y'all think that I can't do that with Nick? Y'all, I don't move that way, bro. I don't rock that way. Never been that. Never been that. So I've never been this has always been me. Middle school, high school, college, always been me. I stand on what I stand on. I've never been worried about being the cool kid, appealing to anybody. I did my own thing and made my own coolness. So I don't need to do all that with all the performative rhetoric. But let's get back to it. You feel me? Let me get off my little high horse real quick. Let's get back to it. And a lot of y'all may not acknowledge it, but y'all know exactly what I'm saying. Y'all know exactly what I'm saying. Nick got y'all riled up for what? Got y'all using all this performative rhetoric when it comes to Renee Good, when it comes to a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump was supposedly supporting. And here, Donald Trump ain't even moving on it. Got y'all thinking that we could let's just go colonialize. Let's just go colonialize everything. Let's push for imperialism. Let's just take it. Let's just take it. Oh, those Christian values that we were standing on, those Christian values that when we're talking to our family and friends and we're trying to defend Nick Fuentes and we say, yo, he's just a Christian guy. He's one of the good guys. That may be so. But where are those Christian values during times like this? Where are those Christian values that you're calling on during tough times when you need to make a decision where it's like, oh, nah, put that to the side. We'll just take all their stuff. We'll just violate whatever commandments. We'll violate whatever Jesus would do. We'll just start taking their stuff. So I'm not, and what's funny about this episode, I actually agree with Nick on this episode. And I realized that a lot of the times that I disagree with Nick is mainly based on when he's just getting all excited when it comes to Donald Trump getting him riled up, or when he's feeling like he has to appeal to his base where he's going over the top with a lot of the rhetoric, right? Y'all know exactly what it is. A lot of y'all know what it is because those are the episodes of the shows that y'all love the most. Nick said nigger. Oh my God, Nick said nigger. Based. It's like, bro, like, let's get back to the substance. So let me not go all over the place on all these different tangents. But once again, I agree with what a lot of Nick said on this show. We'll go through it. I may agree with everything Nick said. I guess we'll go through it and we'll see. So we said that Trump always chickens out. We can agree on that. So the two instances that he's talking about, the deportations, as well as invoking the Insurrection Act to address the protests in Minneapolis, he says it's no longer necessary. Nick is pissed off. He says this is the third or fourth time that he's done it. You can tell he's pissed off. Like I said, he went on to call Renee Good or refer to her as a pumpkin head and the B word. And it's just like, bro, like, why? She already got shot in the head. Like, do we now need to double down? Yes, we all understand looking at what she did and can say that was dumb as hell. It was idiotic, foolish, that she put herself in a position to where she's now running away from somebody or not listening to somebody who's law enforcement with a gun. Now, once again, I don't think that it was justified at all. But if I was talking to my kid, like my dad talked to me, it wasn't about justice. You don't seek justice when there's a cop telling you what to do. You seek justice after that when you go to court, you make a lawsuit, press charges against the police officer, whatever you need to do, but you don't do it right then and there. You're not seeking justice at a traffic stop. When does that ever go well for the person? Let's keep going. So we said that Nick's realized that the government, he's realizing that the government lied to us about what the bombing of Iran was about. It's about doing Israel's bidding. And I believe Nick was spot on when the initial bombing happened with the nuclear weapons or with us bombing their nuclear facilities. I think Nick, at the time, he spoke on it. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but to my recollection, and I tried to look up a couple of things in the past, but it seems like he's been very consistent, that Nick has been very consistent when it comes to Iran and saying that, look, this is not just going to be bomb their nuclear sites and expect them not to retaliate. Now, luckily for us, the country that claims to call us the big Satan and deaf to America and all this other stuff, luckily they called Trump and said, hey, we're getting ready to bomb your air base. So if you could just remove everybody from there, that'll be great. We'll let you know exactly when the bomb's on the way. Doesn't sound like a country that they're painting this picture of just trying to sabotage or beyond sabotage, want death to America and call us Satan. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. But we when it comes to a lot of these issues, I think we overthink them. We know what's going on. We either overthink them or we're just trying to align ourselves with an influencer that we like, a politician that we like, a political group that we like. But when we take a step back, this stuff is not that difficult to understand. It's not that difficult to understand that the only reason why we would be doing something with Iran is because we're doing Israel's bidding. So let's keep going. We know what's going on. I mean, even when you look at like what other situation in the Middle East, you can look at the Iraq war, weapons of mass destruction. Israel didn't even send one of their troops. Israel did not send one troop into that war. We just go over there and have thousands of our young men and women going over there dying for what? To protect poppy seeds? Or I think that was more Afghanistan, but for what? To look for weapons of mass destruction that aren't even there, that they probably knew weren't there in the first place, but they're going over there and they're rationalizing it after 9/11 as if it has anything to do with 9/11. So we've all heard this story. Like I said, we know what's going on. If you take a step back, remove the bias as much as we can, I think we'll have a better understanding and gain more clarity on the situations that we're seeing. All right. So, and once again, I agree with Nick on this. I do not want to get involved in a situation with Iran. I don't understand. I'm tired of doing Israel's bidding. I'm tired of us putting our country at risk and acting as if Israel is so important to America. Why is Israel so important to America? Oh, well, they give us intelligence on all the different countries that are in the Middle East. Well, why would we even need intelligence on them if we weren't supporting Israel? Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So Nick says it's deja vu all over again with Trump not matching the deportation energy that he once had. Of course, Nick is referencing 2018 in his first term. And we mentioned it earlier in the show. But when he's talking about with the babies being separated from their parents, and I already talked about how I thought that this was extremely dangerous on the Democrats' side. Y'all ever watch The Wire? This is what it was. It's almost like, you remember when Bodie, they tried to set Bodie up, but it was entrapment, and Bodie knew the law, and he said like, yeah, this is entrapment, and they had to let Bodie go. This is what this was when it comes to the Democrats. This was entrapment, in my opinion. Let me actually look up the definition. I don't need to look up the definition. Y'all know what I'm saying. And I'll explain a little bit more of what my thinking on it is. And it's because you had the Democrats and liberals incentivizing people to come here. Hey, come here. Yeah, we got these open borders. Pull up. Well, yeah, by law it's not open, but we letting 10 million in. Don't even trip. And then what do people do? They go to the border, and now it's like, whoa, y'all can't just come here. We don't have the infrastructure. We can't just let anybody in. And now when you got to rush or figure out a way to now house all these people, and they're not, I guess, staying in some of these 5-star hotels or 4-star hotels that the Democrats and liberals want them staying in, then it becomes an issue. Now they're staying in cages and all this other stuff, but they should never have even been encouraged to come in the first place. It's messed up on their end. If I was them, I'd be pissed off at the Democrats, not the conservatives from that standpoint, who are saying like, yo, nah, y'all can't come here. Once again, going back to the reference with the party, don't get mad at the person throwing the party. Get mad at the person who told you to come, knowing damn well that you're not going to be able to get in, or you're going to have problems when you get to the front door. But then you hiding in the back, not saying anything, not even speaking up and saying, oh, no, we invited them. Come on, bro. Let's keep going. All right. So, and I believe Nick said that specifically, that Trump made a call. I believe, I forget who he said. I think he said he made the call to Stephen Miller. And that's when they decided to move away from the cages. So I don't know, maybe Trump's heart is a little bit bigger than his rhetoric assumes it to be. So let's keep going. But this is the thing. Nick is right when he says that Trump wants them here, these illegal immigrants or people that are here already illegally. Trump wants them here for what? Trump is the same person that was going on interviews saying like, yeah, I take advantage of the H-1B visa program, but I shouldn't be able to. But then he's fast forward. A couple months ago, he's sitting in an interview saying, no, we need these people here. We need these H-1B visas. We're not talented enough. We're not skilled enough. We need to bring people in because Americans can't learn. Like, what? Is that what you think, Trump? Is that America first? Or is that what the donors are bullying you to say because they don't want to go through maybe the training process of training Americans? They rather just bring people in from India or bring people in from wherever else they're coming in from, Asia or other places. But that doesn't benefit America. That doesn't benefit America, but Trump's not answering to America. Trump's not answering to we the people. Donald Trump is answering to the people that have put money in his pocket, who he believes, or may be the reason largely because they gave so much money, like a Miriam Adelson, why he's in the position that he's in now, why he won the election. But what he's forgetting about are all the people like the Theo Vons, the Joe Rogans, the Candace Owens, the Dave Smiths, all of the people on that side who also helped him win the election, because all that money is just money. And I don't want to say it's just money because obviously we understand that money is a valuable tool. But a lot of the people in the middle were shifted over to Trump based on a lot of the people that I just mentioned. So let's keep going. And also it's the same thing with the Democrats. So just like Donald Trump needs to appease his donors and bring in the agricultural workers that are here illegally, or we're going to deport them, but then just bring them back in. Like if anybody actually believes that, that's almost like when you go up to Canada. What did I have to do? I remember when I was in Canada, I was already there, but to kind of like renew some status, I had to walk across the bridge to the American side, but then just walk right back to Canada. It was something silly like that. So I guess that's like a similar program. Oh yeah, we're going to kick them out, but then just bring them back in. It's like, bro, all this symbolism, like who's buying this? But it's the same thing that the Democrats do. The Democrats do it because they need victim voters. The Republicans or Silicon Valley and the conservatives on that end, the people that have given Trump money, they do it because they need cheap labor. That's what rich, wealthy people have always preferred. They've always preferred cheaper labor, right? They've always preferred that. Whether it's, we don't need to get into that. They've always preferred cheaper labor. And then when it comes to the Democrats, what have they always needed? A group of victims that they can take credit for them being here and take credit for giving them all these social programs to where it's coming out of American pockets to make sure that they have housing, to make sure that they have food, to make sure they have education and other things as well. So, yeah, all the Democrats and Republicans, it's all the same. And to elaborate on that, that's really where we go wrong with all this stuff. We give up, and we talked about this on the live show this week. We give up all of our leverage as soon as we commit to a political party. We give up all of our leverage because think about it from this standpoint. It's almost like if you're the head of a classroom or anything else, but we'll just keep it political, where now if there weren't political parties, somebody would have to make a case to appeal to everybody, right? I got to appeal. Damn, I got all these millions of people in America. How do I appeal to all of them? As soon as you get to a two-party system, now you no longer have to appeal to everybody. Now these rich elites that put these politicians in play to be their puppets, now the rich elites no longer have to appeal to everybody. Now they can control somebody just with, oh, well, we'll just put this person at the head of this party and this person at the head of that party. So now we move into a us versus them tribalism, which ends up now we're voting based on the lesser of two evils. This is what the two-party system did. It compromised us because it took away all of our power because now it's got to be either one or the other. It's got to be either one or the other. So, hey, I'm going to vote for the one that's the lesser of two evils. So now it's almost like they don't even have to pass the test. Let's say that there's 10 things on your agenda list that you as a voter want. If they can deliver on 3 out of 10 of them, but the other party may not deliver on even 3, may deliver on 1, or maybe deliver on, I don't know. You see that as a win. It just sets the bar so low for these politicians, and that's why they never have to do anything for us. But if we removed just being victim to these political gangs and pledging our allegiance to these political gangs for what? None of them have done anything. Just talk to somebody that votes Democrat. If they're being honest, they're pissed off at their representation. Talk to a Nick Fuentes. Talk to a lot of y'all that are watching who may be more on the conservative side. You're pissed off about your representatives. So how do we get to a position where we're both pissed off at the representatives that we're putting all of our faith in, but we still argue more with each other than actually holding the people who are in office accountable? You see, and this is what Nick's point was. I don't even know if he said it around this time of the conversation, but I believe he said it at some point where my takeaway was it's hustling backwards. But I think he used a different term where he was talking about, hey, you're not voting in your best interest or something like that. But I just see it as hustling backwards. Hopefully y'all understand what I mean when I say that. You're doing what makes sense. You're taking your power away. You're taking your power away. And I don't even know how we would do this, but yeah, we don't even need. We need more managers rather than CEOs, maybe, because we need to understand that we need to be the CEO of this country. We, the people, need to run stuff. And maybe that's just a mindset shift. And maybe it's not actually like something that we actually need to change. Now, one thing that maybe this is far-fetched and not realistic as far as it actually happening, but maybe we could move to a place more where we're concentrating more on policy. Just like when we go to vote, I remember when I'm voting in Florida, they were voting based on whether or not to legalize marijuana. That's a simple thing. I don't need to vote for a politician who's then going to make the decision whether or not to legalize marijuana. Just put it on the damn ballot. If more people vote for it to legalize it, then it gets legalized. If more people vote to not legalize it, it doesn't get legalized. Maybe we should just do that. Maybe we should figure out a way to create a newer system that moves towards that. Because clearly, one thing that I think the majority of Americans will acknowledge is that the two-party system is not working for the people. It's working for the elites that want to control the people. Does anybody actually believe that this two-party system has been working for us? It seems like over and over, we're put in the same position to choose from the lesser of two evils. Just look at what next election is going to look like. Look at what this next election is going to look like. Who's it going to be? J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom? Who's excited about that? We got a country with billions of people. Oh, wait, hold on. How many? I think I said billions earlier. How many people are in America? Hold on. I don't want to sound too ignorant. How many people are in America? Not billions, my fault. I'm tripping. See, that's why I need to correct it. 348 million. All right, so we got a country with millions of people, right? Over 250 million, 1/3 of a billion of people. And the best we can do is Gavin Newsom, who can't even hold his own in a conversation with Ben Shapiro, and JD Vance. And to be honest, Trump is putting, and I think Nick talked about this on the show, Trump is putting the conservative party and specifically JD Vance in a very difficult spot. My understanding right now, like where I am right now, Gavin Newsom's going to be the president. How can Trump become the president? Like, how can JD Vance become the president? The reason why Trump won is because he's Trump. Like Nick said, he is Trump. Nobody believes in JD Vance like they believe in Trump. JD Vance could be the skilled, polished politician, and it doesn't matter. What is what Nick and a lot of people are saying now, the aura? Like, what aura does JD Vance have when it comes to Trump? Like compared to Trump. So now I don't know if Trump would win if he ran again. Now, I say that, but then I still think that he would have a very good chance because people are fickle, right? Reference the Gladiator, the mob is fickle. And when I say the mob, I'm talking about us. We are a very fickle group of people because we just become fans. We identify with people. We identify with political parties. We don't identify with principles. We have a short memory. Trump didn't deliver on anything. Oh, well, he couldn't deliver on anything then, but he'll deliver on it the next term. Oh, well, Barack Obama, I know he ran this race pushing all this hope and trying to inspire or trying to get black people to rally behind him. We know he didn't do anything in the first term, but the second term, that's when he's really going to do something because the first term he had to worry about getting reelected, so he couldn't do too much. But the second, it's all the same for all of these politicians. They're all the same. They work with each other. It's like WWE. Both wrestlers are working with each other. They just want an exciting fight to increase ratings. That's it. So let's keep going. Oh yeah, Nick, what he said is that we're negotiating against ourselves. So when I hear that, I think of hustling backwards. So whichever term makes the most sense to y'all, go with it. But yeah, then I think I'm going through my notes. It's going off the top. This is why I hate going off the top, because then I end up repeating myself and just reading stuff like, yeah, I already covered that. So this is the entire purpose of the silly two-party system. We went over that. Y'all know that I think that this is exactly what Nick said, us negotiating against ourselves, taking our power away. So Nick says that either we deport 1 million people this year or we have to accept that it was all a scam. And he said that we should be able to tell what's it going to look like by, what did he say, like October or November? Bro, I don't need that to understand that it's a scam. And I don't think you need it either. You've been calling it out before everybody, Nick. You know this is a scam. You know that this is a scam. All of this stuff is performative rhetoric. All of it. They're selling us a bum used car. That's all this is. Oh my God, this car. Then as soon as we get it off the lot, is anybody surprised? Oh my God, the used car dealer, he lied to me. He told me that the car was in great shape after he sold us a bunch of other bum cars. We still going back. The used car dealer probably gets to a point where he's like, yeah, just tell him whatever. Like, honestly, I don't even respect them enough because they just keep listening to what I'm saying, even though I keep lying to them. So why would I do anything other than just keep lying if it's just going to make me money, if I'm just going to get what I want out of the deal? So that's what I'm sure a lot of these politicians feel about us. So we talked about, Trump putting the conservatives in a tough position with JD Vance, and perhaps this is going to make Marco Rubio more of a favor to become president than to become the Republican nominee than JD Vance, because at least Rubio can stand on the things that Donald Trump is doing when it comes to Venezuela, when it comes to us getting involved in a lot of these other countries. That's more Rubio. That's more his neocon energy or whatever his past dealings, whether it's with Cuba or that's more his lane. That's more his lane because we know that JD Vance doesn't agree with any of this stuff. Nick told y'all the other day on the show where Nick believes that JD Vance has his people putting out information just to remind people like, yeah, JD Vance doesn't agree with this. He's pushing against it, but he's either too cowardly or like a lot of us, when we are in our jobs, we're not willing to speak out because, hey, I'm not going to compromise my job. Like I work here. Like I'm not going to speak out. I'm not going to say what's honorable. I'm going to lie. I need my job. I need to put food on the table. We know how this goes. All right, so let's keep going. And then Nick brought up the story that I think a lot of us can relate to where he said that his friend was getting mad at him. Like, you're not supporting Donald Trump. And Nick is sitting there like, yo, Trump doesn't know you. He doesn't care about you. Why do you care so much about him? And that's the thing with a lot of these politicians that we have to understand. They don't care about us. They understand what's going to emotionally connect. That's why they use the performative rhetoric. That's why Nick does it as well. I know that may offend some people. I know that may make you feel uncomfortable. And the people that it is making feel uncomfortable when I sit here and say that Nick is just using performative rhetoric to appeal to, and I have to be very careful in how I'm wording it because I want to make sure that I'm being clear and exactly how I mean it. When I want to say it, I want to just say Nick is doing it to appeal to his lowest IQ followers, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is that all of us have different things that appeal to perhaps our lowest IQ state. You get what I'm saying? Like our beastly nature or something like that. But this is just related to IQ. So I'm not saying that he's doing it to appeal to just the lowest IQ supporters that he has. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that he's doing it to appeal to the lowest IQ emotional connection that he can with a lot of the people that are following him, so he can just get people all excited about the other goofy stuff that I already referenced before. Oh, he said Wang Half. He has a shirt that says Wang Half. Yeah, I mean, cool. Like, how about you have a shirt about the people that are actually holding you back, the people that you actually got an issue with? Because newsflash, black people, we ain't even in a position to be a threat. We haven't even, embarrassingly enough, that's not anything that I'm proud to actually say. Embarrassingly enough, black people aren't even in a position where we're relevant. But here you have a shirt that offends black, whatever. It doesn't even matter. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. It is what it is. But yeah, I just hope, I'm just trying to open up y'all eyes to see the plays that are happening right in front of us. Now, a lot of y'all super Nick fans may not want to acknowledge that, just like a lot of super Trump fans don't want to acknowledge that. But yeah, performative rhetoric is used to appeal to you. So rather than actually policy and substance. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Perhaps I just, yeah. So overall, I don't really find anything in this episode. Like, I can't recall anything that I disagree with Nick on. And like I said in the beginning, I tend to, when Nick is not getting all excited and riled up with the Trump rhetoric, I tend to agree with Nick. I think that he sees things a lot more clearly when he's not trying to support Trump, because we know that, look, we're all human. So we have somebody that Nick, who, you know, Donald Trump's his hero, like him and Kanye. Like, it's very hard for us to speak about our heroes in a negative way. We'd rather root for them. So we're always going to give them the benefit of doubt. But a lot of times that benefit of doubt is going to put us in a position to feel exactly what Nick was feeling on this episode. That's why he called Trump a chicken, saying that he's chickening out, because he's offended. Because here Nick put his faith in Trump, and once again, Trump disappointed him. So I'm tired, y'all. I can't even front, man. I did a little boxing workout earlier, and by the end of the week, you know, for a lot of y'all that don't realize, we do a live show every day now, Monday through Friday, and then doing all this. A lot of people don't understand what goes into it, but you know, I got to do my due diligence, do my research, making sure that I'm paying attention to what Nick is saying, so I can at least respond with some type of substance and not get up here and just sound stupid. Y'all are already going to crush me if I disagree with Nick. Y'all are already going to have something to say. There's a lot of people that have something to say if I agree with Nick, just because they're like, yo, who's the black guy talking to? Yeah, I get it. But Yeah, but we ain't on that victim stuff, bro. Ain't nobody forcing me to be here. So either way, I appreciate y'all because nobody's forcing y'all to be here either. So appreciate y'all for continuing to rock out, man. Tap in. Give me your feedback as y'all always do. Let me know how I'm seeing this completely wrong, or let me know if I'm on to something, and anything in between as well. I enjoy the back and forth. As long as it's respectful, as long as it's, coming with some substance and not just, you're wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. I may be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times. I'm cool with that. Are you? All right. So share the video, subscribe, turn your notifications on, make sure that we control the algorithm and the algorithm's not controlling us. Shout out to my big bro, Robert, for giving the game on that one. And let's continue to grow. Let's continue to force ourselves to think outside the box. Sometimes we got to play our own. I don't even know if the term is appropriate, but sometimes we got to be our own, play devil's advocate against our own argument, because it just allows us to see things from different points of views. So y'all allow me to do that when you give some feedback and tell me that I'm all wrong. So I appreciate it, but y'all may not have somebody that's able to give y'all feedback. So sometimes you got to give yourself your own feedback. I'm rambling and I'm tired. Enjoy y'all weekends, man. Appreciate y'all. See y'all soon. Ew.
It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a nigga on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there. Let's figure out a split that's honorable and fair. Tell me where you trying to take it. Bro, I'll meet you there. 1600 Penn, Wash, DC. Swear I saw the vision riding through the DMV. I envision prayers, but I could do VP. Hillbilly Elegy, fuck, I look like JD. Shout out my cheat code, Dave and Karen raised me. And my big bro, a nuclear family.
And they don't like that. Strong fathers in the crib, BLM fought that. LBJ society created all that. Victimhood mentality, I can't embrace that. And everything they taught in school, assume it's all cap. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Ain't no introduction, just some fun facts. In case you were wondering, I am that.
I know you heard me hit it 3 times for Dr. Umar. Shout out to Umar, man. We ain't kicking nobody when they down. And shout out to everybody that continues to show love, support, appreciating the message that I'm giving y'all, along with the bro Nick's message. We gonna keep pushing, man. And shout out to the haters too, cause y'all in the comments heavy too. y'all the ones that gave me the inspiration to create this song. They kept saying like, who's the random black guy in the corner? I am.